Market Failure by Edward Yu. Healthcare is a positive externality of consumption, which means when it is consumed or used, it will provide external benefits to third parties. In the case of healthcare, when it is used or consumed, people are healthier, so they won't pass on sicknesses, which means other people are also less likely to be sick. This leads to a healthier and more productive workforce, which would benefit the whole population. This is a market failure because the marginal social benefit is greater than the marginal private benefit. In the free market for healthcare, people will consume at quantity Q1 and at price P1. However, the socially optimal or socially efficient level of consumption will be at Q star, where the marginal social benefit is equal to the marginal social cost. There is a potential welfare gain, shown by the shaded triangle, A, B, C. This is because for the units between Q1 and Q star, the marginal social benefit is greater than the marginal social cost. If the consumption of healthcare increases from Q1 to Q star, then the welfare in society will increase and eliminate this positive externality of consumption. However, the consumer's consumption levels react to only the supply curve, which is the same as the marginal social cost, and would end up at their perceived equilibrium at point C, between the marginal private benefit and the marginal social cost. The government, knowing that the socially efficient level of consumption is actually at Q star, would then have to step in to increase the consumption from Q1 to Q star. They can do this by subsidizing or providing healthcare, which would shift the marginal social cost out. The consumers will react to the decreased price by consuming more until they reach the socially efficient level of consumption, Q star. This is the reason why the provision of healthcare in an economy is likely to require government intervention. Negative externalities of consumption. They occur when things are consumed and they adversely affect third parties. Examples for negative externalities of consumptions would be cigarettes and secondhand smoking, cars and the pollution emitted from cars, loud music, and noise pollution caused by the music. Negative externalities of consumption make marginal social benefits, in each case, less than the marginal private benefit. Private utility is thus diminished by the negative consequences suffered by the third party. In the free market, consumers maximize private utility or their benefit and consume at a level where the marginal social cost is equal to the marginal private benefit at point A. They'll ignore negative externalities that they create, which means they'll overconsume by consuming at quantity Q1 at price P1 instead of consuming at the socially efficient quantity Q star. Since the marginal social cost is greater than the marginal social benefit for the units between Q1 and Q star, for those units, there is a welfare loss shown by the triangle ABC. Thus, this was an overview of the negative externalities of consumption. Now, on to the next part, where we have to evaluate two policies that may be used by governments to reduce external costs of production. External costs or negative externalities of production occur when the production of goods or services creates problems or costs that are damaging to third parties. There are typically environmental problems, such as the air pollution caused by the production of computer components. Due to the pollution or the negative externality of production, the marginal social cost is greater than the marginal private cost. However, the firm only accounts for its private cost and would produce at a quantity of Q1 and at a price of P1, not at the socially efficient output Q star, where the marginal social cost is equal to the marginal social benefit. Thus, there is a misallocation of resources, where too much of products are being produced at too low of a price, and there is a welfare loss to the society, shown by triangle ABC of extra units between Q1 and Q star, because the marginal social cost is greater than the marginal social benefit for those units. In the free market, this situation will not improve, because the firms will only take into account their own private costs. Two policies that the government can use to reduce external costs of productions are taxation and tradable permits. They both have their pros and cons. In taxation, the government taxes the firm to shift its marginal private cost up towards the marginal social cost, like so. If the tax is able to shift the entire marginal private cost up to exactly where the marginal social cost is, then the government would have internalized the externality. The pros of this is that it is seen as a way to make the polluter pay, and it will move towards the social efficiency Q star in the allocation of resources. However, the cons of this method of reducing the external cost of production is that it is hard to put a value on the costs of pollutions, and taxes don't actually stop pollution from taking place. Now, tradable permits work differently. They are a market-based solution to negative externalities of production. They are government-issued licenses which allow the firm to pollute to a certain level. Once it is issued, the firms can buy, sell, or trade these permits on the market. The government first decides on a level of allowed pollution and then splits it up into a number of tradable permits. The government then allocates these permits to the firms. Good points for this policy is that the market takes over, and it is in the firm's interest to pollute as little as possible. Because if they need to pollute more, they will need to pay more and buy more licenses. However, if they manage to pollute less than their permit, they can sell their permit and make money. However, there are also cons for this policy. It doesn't really lead to the reduction of pollution once the limit has been set by the government initially. Secondly, the government faces difficulty in deciding what is the acceptable level of pollution. Therefore, taxations and tradable permits each have their pros and cons. Thank you for watching Edward Yu's Vodcast on market failure.